Hello, everyone, and welcome to a rage-filled episode of Bodied, a Cloud9 fan cast. I am your aggravated host, Havokpus, as always, and I'm joined by my probably equally irate co-host, Frozencreek.
I'm not sure if you would call it irate. It's just maybe depressed is still strong, but like my emotions are out of whack at this point. I actually laid in bed for like a half hour last night, just trying to process
just thinking
something I already knew like hours before. So I was a little tipsy at the time, so maybe that was why. But
that was probably it.
In happier news, have you played the new Pokemon game?
I have not, but I know you have.
Yes, I have. I knew you hadn't, but I wanted to have an icebreaker. Yeah. Yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with it. There are obviously some faults that were pointed out before the game came out, but it's still a really fun game. It was probably not worth quite $60, but if I bought it used, it was going to cost $50, and at that point, I might as well just buy it full price when I want it, as opposed to waiting 2 weeks or a month for somebody to give it in. So, oh well.
Yeah, I may get it. It's a thing of I've seen some of the new Pokemon designs, and a lot of them just didn't look very like inspiring or like, oh man, I gotta get this game because this one looks really cool. Like one of them was like it's legit just like a chipmunk, but it's like a really fat chipmunk, and
Yeah.
it looks like it looks like they kind of just like took Peter Griffin and just like, what if you made Peter Griffin into a Pokemon?
That's actually true.
I just picture it going like, hey Lois, I'm a Pokemon now.
Yeah, I caught him and got rid of him immediately. So yeah, but I'm sitting with a team of mostly new Pokemon, which is what I wanted. So good first.
Well, I'm glad you like it.
Yeah, I need to try out the other starters because I always start with grass my first time through, and I don't love the evolutions of the grass one, so I'm kind of disappointed in that.
But they all look kind of samey.
Yeah, my only complaint.
Yeah, but this is not a podcast where we talk about Pokemon. Sadly,
I wish it was.
It'd be a lot happier if it was a Pokemon driven podcast.
Yeah, but instead of that, we have the new Cloud9 roster for next year.
Yeah, at least somewhat. There hasn't, I guess, been like an official announcement for Niski and Blabber. Everyone's assuming that Licorice stays. I guess mid and jungler are technically question mark since there hasn't been like an official statement, but pretty much the roster is going to be Licorice in the top lane. Blabber is now moving to the starting position as jungle due to the trade with Evil Geniuses for Sunscarin. Niski will remain at mid. Zven from TSM has made the big, and I say shocking in air quotes, move over to Cloud9. And Zazel is going off with Svenskeren to Evil Geniuses and is being replaced by Vulcan from Dignitas. I'm not sure how we want to structure this conversation, Frozen. If you want to kind of just do freeform, or if you want to look at things as a whole, positives, negatives, I don't know how to do it. There's a lot of emotions being thrown about in the C9 space right now.
Yeah, I think the glaring issue or thing to talk about is Sneaky being out. He doesn't have a destination right now. I guess he's just a free agent. Nobody knows if he's going to find another team as of 5:30 Eastern Standard Time on Tuesday. But I would be surprised if he didn't play 1 or 2 more years. But yeah, so now we have Zven and Vulcan in the bottom lane as opposed to Sneaky and Zazel. So as everyone knows, Sneaky was the last remaining member of the OG Cloud9 team. He's been with Cloud9 for what, 6 years now?
I think it's 8 years actually.
8 years? Oh Jesus. Well, season 3, we're coming on season 10. Yeah, 7, 8 years is probably right.
Yeah, I guess it depends on like when you start the counting
true.
the year.
And if you count before Cloud9, he was on that team. So yeah, what are your initial thoughts on losing Sneaky? Then we'll jump into his substitute after.
Okay, yeah. That's actually a good way to talk about it. I'm actually not that surprised. I think that losing Sneaky was an inevitability. I think eventually, at some point or another, you're going to have to lose Sneaky. You know, eventually he's going to slow down. Eventually there's going to be some sort of issue with either how he plays or how he handles himself within the team, or something. You know, some issue will occur to where the team has to just go, look, Sneaky, you know, we love you and you will always be a part of the Cloud9 organization, but you have to step down. Either step down or compete for a spot. And, you know, I read some posts. I saw what Sneaky said on his stream about how he was given the opportunity to compete for a spot, but he said that he didn't want to entertain that idea. He said that the team didn't want to really play with him. And there's a lot to say about that. I think that, and I'm going to try to keep this as rambly as not as rambly as possible so we can actually discuss it. But I think that, you know, in sort of a team setting, any sort of work setting, if you're not working a certain way, or I know it's difficult for Sneaky to take criticism. I've seen a lot of times in sort of the Cloud9 behind the scenes videos where, you know, Zazel or Niski or Blabber are saying how, like, well, we can't really point out problems directly to Sneaky. You have to kind of phrase it in a way because Sneaky gets upset, you know, and that sounds pretty counterproductive to how do you improve yourself, you know, and it sounds like you're really not wanting to improve or to really drastically change how you approach the game to better suit the needs of what your team needs. You know, if you're slowing down in some aspect, if you're really not wanting to improve, you know, if you think that you're better than Zven, you honestly should entertain the idea of competing for that spot if you really think you're better than him. But if you're not, you know, if you're just going to bow out, I really can't say much. And, you know, I'm sorry, but I think that you have to accept the fact that Sneaky is out and Zven is in. That's all I have to say about it. I mean, I knew it was going to happen. I think I've even said a couple of times within the past year or so that maybe we need to look at just replacing him, because he has seemed to kind of start to slow down and fall off. So those are my thoughts on it. I'm curious to see what you have to say about it, Frozen.
Yeah, so I feel like it wasn't the time to replace Sneaky. I feel like he has proven himself to be the most, to be the least indispensable member of this roster. He's seen how many rosters around him, how many supports, Smoothie, High, Lemonation.
I remember when High was a support for a little while.
Yeah, and we were really good with his random Soraka picks. But even if you can say that he was bad, like his laning wasn't very good. Zazel's laning isn't good. He last summer when he was bad, as everyone was saying, like he was 10th in gold share among ADCs, I believe. But he was number 4 in KDA, 3 in kills, and 2 in assists. Like, to me, that is a winning formula for an ADC. Like, he's the only one who's proven himself in every roster that he's been to. He's been to Worlds, the most times in a row of.
He's never missed a Worlds, I don't think, ever since he got on Cloud9.
Yeah, he's the only player who's been to every Worlds, I believe, since Season 3. He has like the highest World attendance record. He got beat by Perks, arguably the best ADC in the world, and not Chovy, Tarzan Chovy, who was the ADC on Griffin.
I have no idea, actually.
Ah, shit, I'm blinking on it.
You can just say Griffin's ADC.
Who was a very good player, and it's not like anybody else performed well against those two teams. Sven turbo into the game. Niski was probably the furthest behind at one point in time on that. He wasn't playing Kill, but Licorice was. I think he was playing Tristan at that game, and he was
I think most of the team was just
100 CS
playing
down
bad at that Worlds.
Yeah, he was like 50 CS down at 15 minutes or something like that. Like, you tell me who's underperforming in that game. Like, I just don't feel like it was, while Sneaky wasn't a bright spot at many points in time this past year, he was a rock in the bottom lane with a lot of shit going on around him. And it seems like we might have had a bad read on the actual meta. Like, we fought a lot and we fought well, but we didn't fight around the bot lane. Like, LWX isn't some elite ADC. Double F claims he's better than LWX from FPX, which is probably up for debate because one of them has
a championship, and another has never got out of groups.
Exactly. One has won Worlds and LPL, and one has never made it out of groups at Worlds. But so I don't know. It just didn't feel like the time to do it still. But I guess if everyone around him thinks that it's not going to work, then it's pretty much not going to work by default. And even if he stayed and fought for a spot, like, if nobody wanted him there, then why would he stay? Like, he's done more for Cloud9 than anyone but Jack at this point. And that's just because Jack's been at the owner the whole time. So, and I bet if you were to poll most Cloud9 fans, they would say they felt in love during a high sneaky lamination D2 balls. D2 balls is Darius Pentakill against Fnatic or something like that.
It was against Fnatic.
Yeah, and high on Lee Sin and shit like that. And to me, unless we were clearly upgrading in the role, it just wasn't time, because he's not bad, and I would have loved to see a split or a year with him with another support like Vulcan, who is a good laning support. And that's, I'm just having a hard time processing it, because he was Cloud9 for so long. Like, it's the most dominant organization, I guess, maybe arguably the most dominant organization in LCS. In LCS history, and he's now gone.
I would say not to shit on your point. I would just say second dominant, since we always get second place.
Yeah, but nobody else has gone to Worlds every year.
No, yeah, I was making more of a joke.
Yeah, I know, and no one's gone to a Worlds semifinal who's currently playing in LCS right now from an NA team. Nobody has taken an NA team to a World semifinal except Sneaky. And I just didn't feel like now was time. But now I guess this is a Reaper's Cloud9. So it's not going to be the same atmosphere that it was with Sneaky there. So it's now fully Reaper's Cloud9.
Yeah, and I understand that it's a very difficult thing to process. Sneaky it's hard to separate Sneaky away from Cloud9, and I think that this is probably one of the issues with, people always talk about, like, well, when would Sneaky ever leave? Sneaky is so entrenched within the branding of Cloud9 that, it seems almost impossible to ever, like, detach him away and sort of, move on once he leaves, whenever that would be. I have very mixed feelings about Sneaky. I think he's a great player. Don't get me wrong. I think he's a great player, and he was probably one of the more actually consistent members of Cloud9. Say whatever you want about his laning phase. I think outside of lane, he was a very good player. He was very good at team fights, which I think led a lot of the sort of what is the C9 brand in terms of game style, and it's just mostly fighting. Him and Zeyzal, maybe they weren't the best pair together. I know that this year they did look very weak, bot lane wise. I can't say much about it in terms of that respect. I think at least how they looked, it looked like they kind of struggled at a few points. But I think that I guess it's just a thing of it. It's done. I think there's no going back now. You have to just kind of press forward. Saying cut the cord is kind of a harsh phrase, but I think that you give fans time to mourn, give them time to be sad that C9's not going to be playing with Sneaky anymore. Maybe he can still be at their stream, and that's probably why they haven't announced like an actual farewell post. But that's it's kind of done. We have to kind of move on.
Yeah, and what I'm really worried about is Sneaky joining another team and them finishing above us, because
that would suck.
That would be the ultimate fuck you. And I mean, last summer we went to Game 5 against the best team North America has ever seen, and we lost in Game 5 to them. And if we're trying to get better, there's not much higher you can go than that.
Yeah, that's very true.
Especially when Team Liquid strength and arguably their weakest position, which was jungle. They brought in Broxa, which was arguably the best jungler in one of the best regions, if not the best, which I don't believe they are, but I think you can make an argument that LEC was the best region in the world last year. And Broxa was a leading jungler. It's not like they brought in someone bad, so it feels like a sideways move, but we will always mourn the loss of Sneaky, just because he has always been Cloud9. I just hope that he's happy with whatever ends up happening, and if he goes pro again, that he finishes worse than Cloud9, because that's what we need. But I guess now let's talk about the bottom lane changes. Zven and Vulcan. What do you think about that?
I guess kind of to go a bit out of order, I think Vulcan's an alright pick. Vulcan is probably an improvement over Zeyzal. My only issue with Vulcan, and I'm kind of saying this bit first because it's very short, I just think we kind of overpaid. I'm not sure if Vulcan was really worth the 1.5 million that we gave Dignitas so we could have him. He's a very good support, and probably a lot of success that Clutch/Dignitas had was probably through him being able to be very good with his engages and everything. And I think he'd probably elevate what we had in the bot lane. I just think that we overpaid. I'm probably fine. I'm pretty fine with Vulcan playing. Zeyzal was probably a weak point that if I was in Jack's shoes, I'd definitely probably look to upgrade to. I have no problem with Vulcan. I just think we overpaid. As for Zven, it's a very difficult issue. People are bringing up Svenskaren's success on C9 and saying, well, look what we did with Svenskeren. Svenskeren looked bad on TSM. We brought him here. Now he looks great. But my issue is that I feel that that's a very different scenario, as well as, it's a different position. I think, at least from what I remember, Svenskeren really looked all right for most of the time being on TSM, and it was mostly his final year, maybe this final split on TSM, he just had a bad split and a bad showing at Worlds. Versus with Zven, it feels like he was just kind of slowly degrading over time and playing worse and worse and worse. And you're trading out Sneaky, who is kind of a passive laner. Sneaky isn't maybe the best laner, and you're swapping out with Zven, who Zven has a very similar playstyle to Sneaky. So there is real no upgrade to that spot. You know, you're just trading out Sneaky for a Sneaky like AD carry. And I feel that we're not, you know, replacing Sneaky with Zven is not improving the team at all. And I think the team still has a lot of the same issues that they had this year, and you're just transferring over them next year, but now you just have a different bottom lane. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. And that's kind of why I wanted to call it Reaper's team, because this is probably what he's wanted, a team he can work with and mold. And now we have a bot lane that is supposed to be the upgrade on everything that we've had so far. I do like the Vulcan buy. Oops, I slipped. I wasn't hugely high on it at first, but the more I've thought about it, I think I do like him. The buyout was expensive, but we did get a bunch of money for selling Zven, Kumo, Deftly, and Zazel to ER. Who is, or what does that stand for again?
It's EG, it's Evil Geniuses.
EG, okay. Evil Geniuses. So we got a big buyout there. We had and we have a lot of money to spend. So it did make sense to bring in the best NA support who's young. He's from Canada, like Lakerish is, so that's kind of cool. I don't think they're from anywhere near each other, and Vulcan's from Quebec, which has tried to leave Canada before, but that's beside the point. So maybe that'll help Lakerish out a little bit. So I actually do like the Vulcan pick. I would have liked to see him with Sneaky a little bit, but I guess we're with Zven now. I feel like this is going to be time for Zven to step up, because in TSM he was always behind Bjergsen, and he was never going to be the dominant personality on the Rift, and now he kind of has to be. Like, he's the most experienced player on this roster. I guess maybe technically Niski is, but Zven was part of the OG team, Origin team. That didn't they go to World Semifinals in season?
Yeah, that was when
season 7.
Yeah, that was when Origin was like first a thing. They got all the way to World Semis, and everyone was so hyped about them. And then they literally imploded like the very next like season.
Yeah, which was something special, but that's beside the point. So now he gets a chance to kind of be a leader, and hopefully that is what unlocks him to be the player that we want him to be.
Yeah, I think that that's fair. I think